surcease of contact, the surcease, it, to mature in his imagination, to mature in his imagination. World of one, world of plenty, she was consequently free to live, naturally. Un desconocido, un libro en rústica. Haber sido engendrado, resaca, ensayista, dramaturgo, narrador, él es lo que es descarnado. Surrealismo implacable, amargada, despojado del tiempo de su infancia. Desterrado de su tierra natal, no me viene a la memoria. La calzada es un sinvergüenza. El mucho hablar llegaría con tiempo sobrado. Acero de tersura, apenas demarcados por setos bajos, celo, prolijo, filas, to find oneself constantly in kitchens, bathrooms too, does seem to predicate a sort of liking, affinity too strong a description, acceptance too passive, fondness sentimental. Familiarity states the case, evoking nothing of the complicated responses provoked. 100 or so years ago, I would have simply put my naggin of whiskey on the shelf, pipe in pocket, sat outside the door in the Indian summer sunshine, scrubbing potatoes, mending the trousers, watching very late last blue damselflies and wasps whir around to die, dance macabre, hung on the solidity of an air wrapped in minute particles of dust, mould, with the wet sharp green of nettle beds and the musky odour of half-rotten tree bark in my nose. Perhaps I'd have gone to town in the pony and trap, selling eggs, butter, buying flour, sugar. Pony and trap bringing me to teach at a school in a private house, visiting. My maternal granny was 13 in 1913. She started boarding school. Her father died, and she finished boarding school, returning home to a governess companion. The great lockout in Dublin. She remembered it vividly well into her 80s. My own dad is equally at home in a landscape of a bygone era. In Dublin, pictures of him in tan khaki Bermudas, a many-pocketed flying jacket, small, round, wire-frame spectacles, hair brushed, it seems straight up and back, receding slightly, spectacularly. A bike and a gaggle of friends lying on the grass. He looks happy. Outside a small farmhouse in Mayo, Granny in a sugan chair, dressed, it is the 1940s, in a floor-length dark skirt, a high-necked blouse, a shawl, shy of a camera. Everything is the same, and everything is different, and decided during the summer. Nearing 8 promotes such pronouncements. In spring we had, there's really no such thing as a perfectly straight line. Questioning around these aphorisms, much like his brother at a similar age, I remember that feeling, excitement, discovery, speculation. The realization that the world was not a fixed unit in stasis or the same as anyone else's. Freedom, tentatively, infrequently, an emergence. Whose gift was it? To say what is my name is not tantamount to saying I don't know who I am. Whose name was it? The gift, objectively, is from a particular name to another one, whose gift, whose name would tell us what significance. The signifier applied to the signified in question, or doubt, would formulately lead in turn to a speculative or possible conclusion of the matter, which in itself of no matter, merely waves. Respondent of the nerve ends, establishing the verification of the connective tissue would take some time. Whose place was it? To say what is its name is not tantamount to saying I don't know what it is. Naming is not a speculative art and not necessary to actual comprehension. makes communicative interaction a lot less tedious and time-consuming. Coded shorthand is the specific, necessary component of the everyday dialectic of our lives. Whose place was it? To say what its name is saying I don't know whose it is. There's a girl somewhere, London, Birmingham, Madrid, Barcelona, who says what its name is every time she tells her story. Says its name in her head to hear the vowel sounds echo right. Aloud they must be adopted for the pertaining local influence to be superficially understood. There's a boy in Cork, Dundalkin, Amsterdam, Australia, with a history, hard work, hard times, and an attitude that says, straight off, he says the name, the block and the flat number in the same unpunctuated blurt to get it over with that he learned when he started school. Winter. About a year ago, the junk-addicted son of a widowed flatholder in Fatima died twisted up, wrapped in an overcoat, huddled on the doorstep of his recently deceased mother's home. His home, all his life. Dublin City Corporation, that same one that so publicly bestows titles and accolades on the strategically deserving, did not recognise him as a tenant, so he was locked out. Alliances. Home. I should say, I suppose, that I skipped huge chunks of that, because you'd just fall asleep and it'd be a terrible thing to do to you. But where I lived in Dublin with my family, my parents had a parents' shop, and they ran a community pharmacy, and we lived right in the middle, it would now be the inner city, right in the middle of Rialto, sort of sandwiched between Dolphin House and Fatima Mansions. And I suppose, to some degree, a proportion of what I do is informed by that. I also cross the city every day and frequently miss my buses because I can't read my watch to go to school. Went to school in Rathmines, which wasn't actually crossing the river, anyway, it was crossing the north side.